Hello there, everyone out in the world. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to everyone out there. My name is Grace Chen, and welcome to the end of summer edition of Quantic Conversations. And today we're focused on navigating sustainability in business. So great to see all of you. I'm sure you're all kind of rolling in right now. I want to take a moment first before we get going to make sure we give a round of applause and thanks to Kelsey Duggan. She's our producer and makes sure everything is taken care of in the background. So I want to make sure we thank her. Um, Now, today's session, it's about 45 minutes long and it is recorded. So in case you can't stay for the whole thing, just come right back to this link and you can watch it anytime, not a problem. Now, if you're interested in learning more about Quantic's MBA or Executive MBA, we have a handy QR code that will be on the top left corner of your screen throughout the live session. And you can click it at any time or scan it at any time and learn more about our student experience. We'll also, for today, we'll be doing a fun giveaway. Juan David has graciously given us an amazing sample of his Waikana loose leaf tea. And here's how you can enter to win. So answer the question that's on the screen right now and go ahead and answer it right in the comment box. And you can answer it throughout the live. Everyone who answers the question will be entered for a chance to win today's prize. We'll be direct messaging you in LinkedIn tomorrow, the winner. And so the question is, in your opinion, how can businesses balance profitability with environmental responsibility? Please share a practical tip or strategy. Go right ahead, put in the comment box. We look forward to seeing your responses, and we cross our fingers for the winner. All right, so let me just do a tiny bit of housekeeping for all of you who are tuning in. By the way, thank you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your morning, evening, and afternoon. We know it's a Monday. We hope this is a wonderful way for you to kick off your week. Also, tell us where you're calling in from. So maybe as you're answering the question, go ahead and add in where your location is. We love to see how global our community is. It's truly one of the highlights of our program. So go ahead and make sure you tell us where you're calling in from. I'm calling in from New York City, and today's weather is actually pretty nice outside. So it's a little gray, but it's actually nice. So for our Quantic Conversations, we love to be inclusive, and it's not just about myself and our guest today. It's also for you who are listening in. So if something resonates with you, if something really kind of sparks some inspiration, go ahead and comment in the comment box. We love to see an ongoing conversation happening alongside my conversation with our guest. And if you have any questions, also feel free to put that in the comment box. And if we are able to, we will get to that question. Now, I am thrilled you could be here today so you can join us for this awesome conversation that I'm about to have with our esteemed guest, Juan David Gomez. Juan David is the co-founder and CEO of Waikana, a LATAM startup that exports energy drinks made from sustainable botanicals to more than 5 countries while supporting small farmers in the Amazonian rainforest. Waikana is an Endeavor Scale Up 2019 alumni and has been awarded by the United Nations in the Scale Up competition in 2019. It was also selected as the #1 SDG Sustainable Development Goals startup in the World Entrepreneurship Cup in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia in 2023, so this year. Juan David is a Young Leaders of the Americas Initiative Fellow, selected by the USA Department of State in 2022, and a member of the Board of Directors of the Fulbright Foundation in Ecuador. And of course, he holds an MBA from the Quantic School of Business and Technology. All right, now without further ado, please join me in welcoming the brilliant and the awesome Juan David Gomez. Juan David, whenever you're ready to join me on screen, we are ready for you.
All right, Chris, thank you so much for that kind intro.
Isn't that fun kind of popping in like this?
Yeah. I was about to say, where's the bottom to jump in, but you got it all under control. It's as always amazing to be joining you.
So excited. And you know what's so great about these conversations is we kind of know what we're going to talk about. We know our topic, but the beauty also is kind of discovering the what happens organically in our discussion. So I definitely have a bunch of questions for you that we have set up and want to kind of pick your brain about, of course, and then in that process, we really want to hear your insight and your experience, and that's what today is really about. So, on the topic of today's discussion, navigating sustainability in business, when I look at just even those four words, three of them are pretty heavy duty pillars of discussion: the navigating, the sustainability, and the business. What is sustainability, what it means in the world of business, and of course, the B word, business. We all hear it all over the place, especially here on LinkedIn, where people, wants, needs, purposes, and resources all kind of collide, and we're all trying to figure things out. Um, so I'll start off with, I guess, a pretty basic question, and it almost seems like silly to ask, but I feel like there's so many definitions or understandings of even what sustainability means. And so I'm just going to ask you if, in this context of where we are, where on LinkedIn, to you, in your own words, what is sustainability?
So I think nowadays, the word sustainability means a lot. It's very profound, yet at the same time misused by so many people. And we live in a world that's evolving so quickly. And many people, when they start talking about sustainability, they only go to their tops of minds, and think with their environment, recycling, and sometimes they talk about renewable resources, renewable energy. But really, sustainability has to do more with our existence on this planet, or in this life. And if we can approach this topic not just from a political or ideological stand view, but as an existential stand view, we might be able to change how we navigate it, how we view it, and play our role in it. Because I believe we're all called to play some sort of role in how we keep our lives in this planet sustainable.
That there's so much right there. Even we could probably spend all day talking about that, but that just I love kind of setting the tone and mindset a little bit, that we have to kind of almost deprogram, not deprogram, but kind of change what we typically default to, which is exactly what you said. When I think of the word, which I almost treat like a buzzword now, I see it so much: sustainable this, sustainable that. I even look for it when I buy products. But my go-to mentally will be environment, or what's immediately probably first taught to us when we first started really hearing that word. But so throughout our discussion today, we'll hear more about what this existential aspect of it and how that plays into business. So for you, can you, on your own journey, can you tell us more about your journey into and as a sustainable entrepreneur in the sustainable world, and then what led you to found Waikana?
Absolutely. So we started years ago. I was a teenager. I was living in Ecuador in South America, and I remember I enrolled as a translator for missionaries and people who were coming to Ecuador to just do social work, and and I was excited to be able to practice my English and to work with them. And we went into the Amazonian jungle this time, and I was so excited, to see the resources, the life. It was the first time I visited the rainforest. Yet at the same time, I was able to see the poverty and the need for economic development in these areas. So that really was the starting of a seed, because it wasn't until 10 years later that we would start Waikana. But these little experiences in the journey definitely led me, to reflect on how I want to impact the world. We live such a short time in this life that we need to to make pauses from time to time and start wondering if we're going in the right direction. And we need to make that often, more than ever before, because things are changing so fast in the world. And I remember at 24 approximately, I'm 33 right now. 24, I was working at one of the largest e-commerce companies in Latin America. I was growing. I had a nice position. I had a good salary. Everything seemed great, but there was this thing in my heart, like I need to go out there and do the thing that I'm called to do. And so I gathered with a friend and we started planning. And we went into a trip to the jungle. We met some indigenous communities. They greeted us with an energy beverage that they drink out of organic leaves, and we were energized by it. And we fell in love of the idea of bringing all these resources to other parts of the world by creating high value products, and then bringing back all these resources from the sale to these communities so they can be reinvested in a sustainable way. And one of the most challenging things that we have with the Amazonian rainforest, which, as you know, is the most biodiverse place on earth, is that since local communities don't have many economic or job opportunities, they would incur into like non-sustainable practices. We have lots of oil and petroleum in the jungle. We have lots of illegal trade of woods. So indigenous communities, since they don't have jobs, they would go and cut the trees because they need to feed their families. So our passion, since we started, was we need to provide another way for them to, to just bring income for their families and their communities without destroying the environment. So that was our passion from the beginning, bringing this economic development and having them teach us, how to live more naturally, just energize ourselves in a healthier way, because it's a two-way thing. We're helping the jungle, but they're also helping us, because let's be honest, how sustainable is our lives today in the big cities? Like, we're working until very late in the evening, eating very unhealthy stuff. We need help too. And sustainability, like we were discussing before, starts with our world, with our environment, with how we produce things, how we create energy, but should also lead us to live better life, a more sustainable life in every aspect.
So much there to I'm going to kind of touch on. You mentioned challenges, and actually you pretty much just told us one of the challenges as you went into the business. Can you expand more on the unique challenges that come with starting a business like the one that you did, and anyone else who is looking to start a business in the world of sustainability, where they want the relationship to be two-way or win-win rather than just one directional? I'm just going to take and I'm going to produce. Are there other unique challenges that you faced or that you just see in general with businesses in the sustainable world?
Sure. Like, number one thing is sustainability is not just a department from your company. I think we have passed many years since that happened. 20 years ago, people were saying corporate social responsibility, let's recycle some bottles. We're not there anymore. We are, I think sustainability should be at the core. And that's why it's so hard for large corporations to really move into it, because, like they just started thinking about cost efficiency. And when you start with that mindset, it's very hard to move your entire operation into this area. Actually, we're going through an acquisition right now of a part of our company. We're working with a large corporation in South America, and they were interested because of our work in sustainability, which was started from the beginning. So that was really something that we understood. Whenever you want to start a business and taking the aspects of sustainability, you need to think what's going to be on the core and what are you going to be able to sustain over the long term. And it needs to be something that you're connected with. And again, I don't believe we're called to everyone, do extreme things, but everyone should be called to do and play their part, their role in this big ecosystem. And for me, it was, okay, We had connections with the Amazonian rainforest. I'd been able to travel. Uh, and so let's play our role here. Let's help the jungle. Let's help these communities. And I was passionate about it. Our team was passionate about it, and we saw how doors were opened. So
Mm,
first you need to be true to your dreams, to what you want out of it,
mhm. Yeah.
and you need to see yourself, like what's your purpose in this planet. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're in another part of the world, you might be called to something else, but I
Yeah.
truly believe we need to start seeking out purpose as a very
Mhm.
important part to starting these programs. They go beyond a
Mm,
corporate thing. They are existential.
yeah. And even just these several minutes of listening to you talk, I can hear the there needs to be a sense of longevity and long term. It's a marathon, not a sprint, maybe. Um,
Mhm.
and and from businesses, let's say who are or that are not um, in the world of sustainable initiatives, and then there are those who are um, figuring out how that all plays and works together as well, because there are probably roles and parts and callings for all kinds of businesses to be a puzzle piece to the large picture. So that whole perspective thing is really so important to this, it seems like. And along the way, even specific to you, in the journey of developing Waikana, was there anything that surprised you along the way? Maybe just pick one.
There were a lot of things that surprised me. I mean, the entrepreneurial journey, it's 10 times more difficult than I thought, and 10 times more rewarding, just
Uh,
more intense. And I remember, like, when we were about to start the business, we were so excited. We had the vision. I remember was picking up our logo and the word, and we had so much passion. And then along the way, you go from ups and downs, and your passion matures. It turns out being this love, sometimes tough love for
mm,
what you're doing and for the mission. um but okay, but summarizing, one thing that I was surprised is, like, entrepreneurship is not like media is selling it, really. And usually when we are you know trying to quit our jobs, like I was back then,
yeah.
my main source of references were mostly media, communication, and a couple of entrepreneurial friends. And I think we need to sit down more with real entrepreneurs and ask them what it takes, how's the journey, and the ups and downs, and just have a more mature feeling. We come from a decade of huge funding like never before in our existence. Like, venture capital grew a lot in the last decade. So I think now we're heading into a more mature season, and again, sustainability is going to play a huge part. Everyone must know that the global economy is going to shift toward everything sustainable, and jobs, industries, opportunities, business, they're going to go around it. It's going to be huge. And businesses who are already preparing for this next wave,
Mm,
with beforehand, they're going to be just in a better position to take advantage of it. And they're going to be like the new role models, because really, big shifts are coming in terms of climate change and society, and we want to be ready for that.
mm. The the readiness factor sounds maybe it sounds like we're at a special time right now. The world's paying attention. The world has to pay attention because there's so much going on, and like you said a couple times, it's moving so fast. But
Mm.
then for anyone who is entrepreneur minded and also passionate about what they're doing to play their part in the world, and also to have that sense of purpose, to have all those kind of intersect the right way is really exciting to see. I know you talked about venture capital and funding. Now, a question we have for you is social entrepreneurs often or might face skepticism when convincing investors about the viability of their
Mm.
business model. Yes, you're passionate about it. Yes, we see where you want to go with this. This is going to do so much good. Um, but there's still question marks or questions. How do you communicate the value and positive impact from both a financial and social perspective of your startup to stakeholders? How do you make that work?
That's such a great question, and I mean, usually when you're thinking in terms of sustainability, it means adding an extra thing on what financial people have been or all their lives used to, and you need to take into account an additional operational thing, an additional cost. But it's the problem with current financials accounting and our system is that they call the sustainable practices a cost. It's an additional cost to just improve our materials, to just have more sustainable packaging. It's an additional cost to do a very sound and healthy disposal of residuals at the factory. But the problem is that the current system is not taking into account the environmental, the economic cost in terms for the planet. I mean, we're just looking at the microeconomics of the company. And so new people, very smart people, are proposing start changing paradigms and start doing accounting of the world impact, the environmental costs of what we're doing, the humanity costs even. And I think when you look at it from a new standpoint, you need to be visionary. You need to be a forward thinker. And nowadays we have more and more investors jumping into this, and really entrepreneurs and visionary investors are the ones who look at the future that's not here yet and start creating it. And you need to think beyond the current system. You need to think beyond the current economy, and you need to think how the world is going to be in 5 years and start building for it. And it's very hard because right now most of these practices are not, most of them I would say, immediately profitable. And along this journey we have found all sort of investors. On our seed round we raised more than $1 million. Then we had been working on Series A, or probably just jumping straight to an acquisition, which I was discussing before. But for raising this initial investment, we had to talk to dozens and dozens of investors, and most of them were not very into sustainable practices. I mean, they would politely say yes, yes, but at the end of the day, they just wanted the highest return on investment. But some of them were social, and they were conscious about the challenges we're facing as a human race, and they were very open and they helped. And actually, they were willing to wait longer. And that's the thing. You need to have a long-term mindset when you're investing in sustainability. So that requires additional cash flow, and that requires courage from investors, from society, from entrepreneurs. We need to be thinking on the long term.
I don't think I've ever heard, at least me, the words courage and patience come into business discussions. But it's I'm just imagining that most investors who are interested, obviously they're interested in business. They want to see a business grow and do well, but don't have the understanding, and so don't understand the unique challenges and necessities that come with growing a business. It's like growing a plant, right? You see a plant in your background. You can't make a plant grow overnight, right? You need to give it time. You have to nurture it, and so that's such an important set of conversations to have. And then even just you and your unique position in the world now, having come from your journey of growing a business, starting with a passion and a need, and really sharpening your toolkit as an entrepreneur. And I'm sure one day you'll be, maybe you have been already, on that other seat listening to someone pitching to you, but you'll have the knowledge and the experience that you have. So the patience part is pretty interesting to think about, actually, and to have a long-term view of things. And I'm sure more and more investors of the right kind are coming to surface. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like educating on social impact investing is just growing every year. Um, and again, like there's a community being built. There's very specific niches and conferences where social capital meets, and it's beautiful to see what's happening there. Uh, Yet at the same time, the same challenges continue. Entrepreneurs and startups need to be striving for financially sustainable business models along with the environmental and social sustainability. So it's a long term race, but again, we are fighting for something that's worth it, and that's when I come back to the purpose thing. Like from
Yeah.
time to time, we need to stop, talk to a friend, talk to someone who's out there, doing the work, and then just meditate a little bit inside of ourselves. What are we doing with our lives?
Mhm.
And I love that. I just love, especially whenever I visit the jungle and I have a quiet time of calm in underneath the big trees. I get to think about it, and really, purpose and sustainability. They might change over time. We're usually thinking, we're called to do one big thing in our lives, and I need to quit my job to save, the whales, and that's going to be it. And that might be it for like 1 or 2 years, 5 years, but then you might need to change, and society and the world might need something else from you. And right now, I know I'm supporting, the Amazonian rainforest and our community, our country through what we're doing. But in 1 or 2, 3 years, things might change. The world's changing rapidly, and we are going to need to reinvent ourselves. But again, we need to go at the core. We need to
Mhm.
do good for this world, do good for nature,
Mhm.
in our short lives.
I want to ask you, see if you could, actually, I know you can. I want to kind of draw out from your brain and experience when we think of purpose and sustainability, and the what are the domains that we need to. So I'm a business professional, or let's say I'm an entrepreneur. You mentioned environmental sustainability is important, financial sustainability is important. What are the other big buckets of the whole person as a business person, professional? What are those major buckets that need to have sustainability as part, it needs to be sustainable?
Well, there's so many things, but from the top, I would say people, your
People.
team, and really, you can do anything without a team. That's another misconception and a lie in media. They just talk about the CEO and the manager, but
Yeah.
those guys wouldn't be, they wouldn't be able to do anything, move a finger without support from their teams. And like a company and organization is only as big as and as powerful as their team is. And I really think we need to take that component into account, having people who truly align with your vision. And that sounds really easy, but it's extremely hard. I committed so many mistakes when I was starting the business. I thought I had hired the right people. They ended up being the wrong people. I took longer, to just remove them from the company. And then the right people at the beginning, I didn't know how to reward and retain them, and I was struggling, like we don't have that much funding, we're still fundraising, but we need to just keep this person in the company. So it's really complex, and you can only learn so much. You just have to go out there and practice it.
Mhm.
um, but I love Jim Collins from Good to Great. He's a great thinker, and he says, you need to put the right people on the right seat in the bus, and they'll take you in the right direction. And sometimes I thought when I was starting a business, I'm supposed to have the entire vision and operation clear. I'm supposed to offer guidance for everyone. And again, we just think this is the way we're supposed to live. But I mean, as leaders, as entrepreneurs, we must set the vision for the future,
Mhm.
but the strategies should be led by our team. And it requires to drop down your ego and to relearn a lot of things, because we can be very stubborn as leaders, and we just need to let go and listen a lot more. And having the right people around you is priceless. It's going to make the difference between success and failure. And it requires another level of just of leadership, leading people in a startup where you don't have the high wages of the corporate world, and you can just like you need to start with having them fall in love with the vision and then fundraise quickly to be able to reward them properly. It's a great challenge, but I love it. I love it really.
And it sounds like you learned a lot of lessons the hard way, but the right way, meaning now you understand. So if I were to even fill in the blank using our title for our discussion today, so navigating team sustainability in business is really important, and as well as the financial sustainability, environmental. You can kind of just put anything if you draw a line right in front of sustainability. Thank you so much for that. It's a great reminder, and I've heard you say more than once now, we do need to rethink, reinvent, kind of change a little bit of how we think about, or our perspective on how things should run or should work. Would you say running a business that is trying to hit all those very important purposes, which is to be environmentally sustainable, financially team sustainable, would you say it's harder to do the business that you're in than a regular business?
Yes, I would say so.
You can say it.
I didn't think about that at the beginning. I thought be almost the same, but it's definitely harder. You're trying to again to add an extra layer of things, but that extra layer, I mean, at the end, it's going to be just more essential for humanity. Then you need courage, you need faith, to believe that you're leading a business for the future. And it's harder because just trying to validate the business model gets harder. Business model is everything. We need to have like the right revenues, costs, and everything needs to be well structured in the business, to have profitability. Because at the end, if we're not profitable as businesses, or we're not doing business, we're going for social work and foundations, which are fine. But one of the things that I love is the idea of generating revenue and profit, yet doing good. And that's always been a part thing that I've loved to deal with. It does require extra work. You need to really understand your business model and go beyond the textbooks. You need to, I mean, for me, it's been talking to other entrepreneurs who have developed social businesses. It's incredible the amount of creativity that these guys have put into, just changing how things normally work. Because you cannot follow recipes, you cannot follow the other models. You need to invent a lot of things along the way. But it's truly amazing, how like social entrepreneurs overcome obstacles and just find a way to make it all work together. It's beautiful, and it's other level of wild entrepreneurship.
Did you say wild entrepreneurship?
Yeah, absolutely. I come from the jungle, so I have to say wild entrepreneurship.
Literally and figuratively. I love that. Yeah, it is possible to achieve purpose and profitability, but it requires creativity and commitment to the original reason why, the why, right? The why that people talk about. Let me switch gears a little bit, and let's focus in on one of this year's the Entrepreneurship World Cup, where your organization took first place in the SDG Startup title. First of all, congratulations. That's huge. I think I remember seeing your LinkedIn post. I'm like, oh, he won something. What did he win? Saw the smiling faces. If you could just tell us even what that global competition was, and your experience and the journey of it.
So that was in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, back in March, and it was actually we was the second time we were elected to participate on the finals for the World Entrepreneurship Cup. Last time it was like 2 years ago, And they invited us, as the top 100 finalists in the world. And after a couple of days of pitching, we were narrowed down to 50, then to 20, and we were so excited. Like things were getting real, and there were thousands of startups applying from different parts of the world. And then we finally were elected between the 10 finalists, and we got a special mention as a social development goals startup for the sustainability project that we have been developing, and we won the number one award in that category. And that was very special. We were in the middle of the desert in Saudi Arabia, crazy, socioeconomic development, comparing, the desert there with the jungle is like two extremes. Yet we kind of brought a message of, what we're doing here with the communities, with indigenous people, and what can be done in the future, really, because it's we're just starting to type the top of the iceberg of changes that need to be done by future entrepreneurs and generations. We were very excited. As in any competition, my co-founder was the one who stood in front of the audience and received a big check, because it was a cash prize as well. And we gave half of that cash to the indigenous communities in the jungle, and that was really rewarding. And at the same time, like just validating what we're doing. But a big thing is also sharing your story. We never thought, like some years ago, we would get into this awards contest and start winning. We were awarded by the United Nations in 2018 as well, in Geneva, in Switzerland. And we never knew that was going to happen. We just stood there and told our story. And I think a lot of people, they're doing a lot of impact. Even in their corporate jobs, they're trying to make things differently. They're trying to do good for people around them and the planet, but they're not telling their story. So I would love to encourage everyone, to just go out and start telling your stories. Whatever you're doing, is changing the world. So we need to start doing that. And you never know, things might happen when you share the good you're doing.
Oftentimes it's when we hear someone else's story, that's when you see a reflection point, or, oh wait, me, I'm doing that, or I'm doing a version of that, or I want to do that. And we're all kind of like hibernating bears in our own little pockets of the world where we don't realize what's going on. And so staying connected often does require, or just ends up being, hearing someone else's story. So that's incredibly powerful. But it's not just a story. And from everything I gather from you and understanding your business, there's been a consistency along the whole way of the building and the journey of Waikana and the story. So the story itself is very whole. And I think people, I'm not a group psychologist, but I think people, they'll know that. They can see that, and they can see the integrity of the story. And so that's extremely powerful. Let's see, I'm just checking my time, make sure I get in the most important questions. You started to do it a little bit right now. You gave a piece of advice to encourage everyone to tell their story. Maybe in general, what kind of advice do you have? Let's say people who are running businesses and they want to be more, quote unquote, sustainable, or they're trying to, maybe right now it is the add-ons and it is I'm doing a few things here and there, but I want to do more. Do you have advice for that category of business owner?
Sure. I mean, again, it starts with, things I'm connected with. If you're just connected and love animals, you might go into that direction. If you like design, just go for packaging. We need a lot of help in packaging. Just be true to your, what you feel you're called to do. But then as a business, you need to start educating and changing the cultural mindset of people. That requires some training, perhaps bringing in some experts, just registering for some seminars where people can start learning about it, because again there is a lot of misconceptions around sustainability and we need to study more about it. And even the world is validating new studies about the actual impact of manufacturing in the world energy. I mean, we're still learning about it. It's not something that's set on stone. So we need to educate our people as a business, and start leading from a specific point. Again, we don't need to do
Mhm.
everything. Everyone needs to be doing one little thing, and then things will change.
Mhm.
uh, and it's easier to commit to one little thing and
It is.
one little action at a time, and that really can ignite change into an organization. And I would say that to people to have businesses. And even if you're like working on a large corporation, you can still have an impact. And remember, just be reminded, leaders are not because of their titles. They're leaders because they influence people. That's my favorite definition of leadership, is your capacity to influence people. It doesn't have to do anything with titles, with position. You could be just at the bottom of your corporate ladder and still ignite the change. We have
Mhm.
seen stories like that thousands of times. um, but yeah, but it starts with specific actions, so just believing a little seed, and you're going to see great changes. And I was chatting the other day with a executive. He was he's right now the CEO of a corporation, but he started on sales, and it took him like 20 years to reach the top of his organization. And he said, it was so hard for me at the beginning. I was striving for change. I was trying to implement innovations, and I had people who opposed to these changes in the organization because things are structured. We were running on efficiency. But he said he had this just one project, with the sales team all over the organization. He was just pushing it forward for many years with a lot of passion. It was very specific, and that project, actually led him to grow in the company, and was the beginning of his career, his growth. Uh, so we can start doing big changes with very small things. I know it sounds cliche, but it's true. And we need to do it. I remind this myself every day, whenever I need to change a habit, or whenever we're trying to deal with the craziness of the company, okay, let's just start with this single thing, and let's just push forward, it's very, very clearly, strongly in that direction.
Mhm. Um, it's okay. It's cliche for a reason. I mean, it's actually there. It's true. And I know we're close to time. I wanted to ask on, would it be the same advice for those who do have a passion and do see they want to do good and want to do good things in the world, but maybe don't have business acumen, or maybe have never started a startup? What do you have advice for those who have the social minded part and the impact part, but maybe don't see how they can navigate into business? And is it important to build businesses based on that?
That's such a great question and comment. So we're bombarded by things we see in media, and we think the only way to change the world or make an impact is to, quit our job and just go to Tanzania and start, just living there. And I mean, we can start doing a lot right now. And you don't always have to be, these Elon Musk trying to get us to Mars. I mean, there's a team behind, and be reminded that without a team, nothing is going to be possible. So we need to play our part. We need to understand that this is not a matter of I'm going to save the world, but it's a matter of we need to save ourselves as a collective society. And I would, think about seasons. What do you need to do in this season? Starting a business might seem huge, and that's why I was sharing before with you, like I started Centerpreneur to help other people start businesses, social impact, purpose driven businesses. I started this with my co-founder Demetrio from Waikana, but really what we can do is, break things down into seasons, into chunks. And at this season you might not be quitting your job, for doing this, but you can start learning just very disciplined way. You can start, using a couple of hours every week and kind of lay out a long-term plan, for this journey, which is long-term again. uh, you do require support from people around you. I can't stress enough how having a community of people, like your support group, it's so essential for success. Because if you have the right people around you advising you, then you're heading into the right direction. If not, you might just have some of the information. So one of the things I'm trying to do in this journey right now, as an entrepreneur and helping other people, to be entrepreneurs, is building this community groups. Because sustainability as a human species also comes from us working together collaboratively. And sadly, on our Western world, the system and the economy is kind of separating us more and more. And it sounds cheesy, but we need to come together, not just for like like mental health, but also as if we want to be effective as bringing back sustainability into society. When I go to the jungle and when I talk to indigenous communities, the deep ones that are living without technology, they know they depend on each other to survive. They know that if one member of the community, is straight away, is lost in the jungle, is not going to make it, or it's going to be very hard. They know they're a community and they depend on each other, to thrive. There's conflict, but we need to be reminded of that. We're not, this individualistic view of changing the world is not. We need to think as a group. And that's why we're building these groups, these gatherings, and helping other people, to start their ideas, their projects, their businesses. And we need to do a lot. We have done, I believe, like a small part in this, and we need to bring in more people.
Yeah. All right. I just to wrap things up a little bit, and some of my takeaways from our very rich conversation. This was so much to think about. Navigating sustainability in business, a couple things that stood out to me. Connect with your purpose, or find the thing that you connect with. That's important. Having a long-term view, and you don't do it alone. It requires community, it requires your team, it requires talking to a lot of people. It cannot be a solo thing. And just to achieve a lot of the sustainability goals that we're all trying to, we have to work together. And that was my takeaway. And I'm excited to see. How old did you say you were? 32, 33. You're very young. You have I can't wait to see the next couple seasons for you, Juan. As we close out, what is the next, I guess, season look like for you? If you could give us a little view of what your life is, what you're working on, and what you plan to be working on.
Absolutely. I would say we need to scale up our impact, and that's going to come most likely from a fusion acquisition that we're planning to have with our company and another large corporation. We have been checking, they align well with our vision and our values, and we believe that is the best way at this point, to just increase the impact we're doing and just spread it more widely. That's going to give us more capacity, but in the long term, some more time, not too much, to be able to work with other people who want to jump into a purpose driven journey. Could be a project, could be entrepreneurship. So that's why I started working with Demetrio to start Entrepreneur. Again, it's a project where we gather people together, and we help them, to start their own businesses and receive advice. And it's a community gathering program, and we need more of that. we're giving advice that we wish we had been given at the beginning of our business. So, which is again is sharing. It's a community thing, and yeah, and trying to just create sustainable business models,
Yeah.
always mission driven.
Always mission driven. And the earlier thing you said about this future generation of social entrepreneurs, they're going to know more sooner, benefiting from wisdom from folks like yourself, and be able to take it to the next level. So we are really hopeful, actually, in hearing all the impact that you're trying to basically get out there as much as possible and make space for others to start to build their ways of impacting the world. So, on behalf of Quantic and on behalf of everyone around the world, audience members, thank you so much again for taking time. I usually say I hope, but I know for a fact that there are just some really amazing nuggets of wisdom from our conversation with Juan David. And hopefully it's giving you something to think about as you leave this conversation. And Juan David, always, you're so generous. Every time we kind of tap your shoulder, like, hey, you want to come talk to our students? We are really excited to see what's going to be the next months, years, and season in your journey as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the time. It's been great to connect with our beautiful community of the school, and looking forward to connecting with people and helping them out.
Excellent. All right. Bye, everyone.
All right. Bye, Chris. Bye.